John Mackay.
How do you do? How nice to meet you.
I do very well, thank you.
Good. Just be looking at your little pamphlet. Don't have time to read it. Well, how old are those fossils?
Well, if I was speaking as an orthodox geologist, I'd say anywhere between 100,000 and 10 million, right, up to 40 million, right? So the age is a product of our theories about how we view the world.
It's not a product of facts, not a product of evidence.
No, because in my own geological research, I'm convinced that what Charles Lyell did to us all was give us a set of glasses to see the world through.
It's not just carbon-14 though, is it? I mean, there are about a dozen different radioactive.
It doesn't really matter, because what you've got is a philosophy. You have to assume that the present is the key to the past, because you weren't there and I wasn't there.
Well, that's true.
So whatever age you get, or I get,
nevertheless,
starts with faith.
It's not just carbon-14, is it? I mean, there's potassium, argon, and they all give the same answer, don't they?
No, they don't. Carbon-14 wouldn't give you any more than 7,000.
They overlap. You don't have to be there, do you? I mean, there are all sorts of things where we weren't there, but the detective work, the evidence...
Well, your chief starting point is either history or a faith position that whatever the world is doing now, it's always done. So
if there were only one method of dating, then you might have a point. But since there are so many and they overlap, and you've got dendrochronology, you've got carbon-14, you've got potassium argon, you've got uranium, and they overlap. Why are you so desperate? I mean, it sounds as though you're really on a losing wicket, because I mean, we've got geology, we've got physics, we've got astronomy, we've got biology. Scientists and all these different disciplines converge upon an age of the Earth which is about 4.5 billion years. Well, it's really fair to say that we have a faith position and then we try to make everything fit. I mean, there are so many different pieces of scientific evidence and they all fit together. We don't have a faith position. If the evidence really supported a 6,000-year-old Earth, we'd agree.
Well, look,
why do you apply this just to evolution? I mean, why don't you apply it to any other science? I mean, why don't you believe the world is flat? The difference between 6,000 years and 4.6 billion years, it's equivalent to believing, if you believe the world is 6,000 years, it's equivalent to believing the distance from New York to San Francisco is 7.8 yards. I mean, that's the scale of the distance. Nevertheless, Lyell was a Christian, and Lyell had problems with Darwin. Lyell was actually quite reluctant to believe Darwin. I'm trying to work out whether you're for real, because I can't believe you're really sincere. I mean, I think I'm trying to work out where you're coming from. You can't seriously believe what you're saying you believe. So I'm wondering what your agenda is. Yeah, what about thorns? Are you one of those who believes that thorns didn't come into the world until after Adam fell?
If creation is true, or if evolution is true, how would you recognise the evidence if you fell out? Because my view of education is, if you can teach the kids how to think, you're miles ahead from teaching what to think. Because then they will be able to think, which is what this country and every other country of the West needs.
Certainly all for teaching them to think.
Good, great, excellent. We agree on one thing.
Well, I'm not sure we really do, actually, but still. There must be a lot of money behind you if you could put together three-dimensional websites. Which countries is it tax-free in?
It's tax-free in America, in England. I mean, you have your sort of reverse system.
It's tax-free, I know the
trusts, so you have that. In America, it's a slightly different system, but the result is the same.
That means that in Britain, your enterprise is supported by the British taxpayer, in effect.
Yeah, well, you've got to remember the government got the money off the taxpayer in the first place, so please don't say it's their money.
I do remember that.
Good. So in other words, what you don't see happening is not science. It's unobservable. And you were the first person
You're using the word
PBS.
C. You're using the word C as meaning see within one lifetime. If a phenomenon takes millions of years, of course you're not going to see it.
Which means you have a faith position, and you need to admit it because
you have to use
weren't
other
there.
evidence than the evidence of one man's eyes. It means you have to
sorry, Darwin was only 1859. That's only 150 years ago almost, right? And you haven't seen it, and I haven't seen it, so please stop calling it science. Teach it philosophy or history.
Seeing than just seeing with one man's eyes. You can see through geologist's eyes, you can see through instruments' eyes. You know perfectly well that we have instruments that can measure things that the human eye can't see.
Now
you
we're
might
back
as well
to
say
the
you
start.
don't believe in electrons.
Now we're back to the start, because you have to assume what you're seeing now is always applied. That's your faith position to remove Moses.
You can't see electrons, and I mean, do you not believe in electrons?